You're listening to the Staging Sips podcast with Lori Fisher. This podcast is dedicated to helping real estate staging CEOs build healthy businesses that grow, flow, and thrive. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. And I have to say a special welcome and shout out to all of the new listeners that we have. There are so many new people checking in. So welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy that you're joining us here at Staging Sips. Now, for those of you who have been listening to the podcast for a while and you're gathering little new tools for your business toolbox here, I would really love it if you would take a minute to just rate the podcast or maybe even write a review, because then it gets in front of other staging business owners. And I really think the elevation of the industry in general is so important to all of our individual successes. So if you wouldn't mind taking a minute to do that, I would really, really appreciate it, because I really want us to be a resource and a community for stagers to come to in their business development. As we know, a lot of times we can be doing it on our own and it can feel very isolating. So let's share the wealth, okay? And the best way to do that is by rating and reviewing the podcast. The other thing I want to share with you is that today I'm going to be sharing a resource with you. So listen to the end. I'll tell you what it is and how you can grab it for your business. It's a great tool that you can use as part of your evaluating your team members better. So one of the things as you begin to add this new layer of management onto you before you can start to cleave roles and delegate things off of your plate, we want to make sure that you have, as a business owner, an easy evaluation process to keep you in touch with your team so that you know what's happening with them and you know what's happening in your business, but without a lot of time for you. The way we do this, obviously, is we create systems behind them, but we also prepare ahead of time. So I did not do this in the early stage of my business. I was not very good at this because I was feeling very overwhelmed. And this was one thing that I had not set up in my hiring process kind of thing. So again, a lesson learned from me. So I want to make it really easy for you. So I'm going to share a couple of really great tools with you today to get this done. The first thing I want to say, though, about giving employee feedback and evaluating your team more effectively is that you really need to make it like a corporate value, and you want to create an environment of what I'm calling equitable feedback. And what is equitable feedback? Well, it's really creating a safe environment to give and receive feedback. We want to make sure that we are checking in with our team members about the way that they like to receive feedback. Everybody, feels a little bit differently on it. Some people like to receive the feedback immediately in the moment. Some people like to have a private conversation, but maybe they also want a heads up to prepare for it. This is all about checking in with your team about how they like to receive their feedback the best. And we want to make feedback practice happen routinely. I'm going to give you quarterly and annual check-in kinds of evaluation tools, but you want to make sure that you are routinely checking in and providing feedback. In our team, we do this on site when we're doing installations and all of that, where we're very much about if somebody thinks something should be done a different way, we don't necessarily say, oh no, this is the way that it was on the plan. We are always about, well, let's try it, because we want to show that we're open to feedback. We want to be, role modeling that. And we want to make sure that our feedback is coming from a growth mindset, that it's helpful. It's helpful for our team. It's helpful for our business. So when we're evaluating our team members, we want to make sure that we're comparing them to themselves and not others in their organization. And we want to make sure that it is a two-way conversation, that you're not doing all of the talking, you're not giving all of the feedback, that your team is actually able to give you feedback about you and your organization. Because at the end of the day, the best things can come from those kinds of conversations. And I have shared a lot about the story about getting feedback from my lead stager about us not having boundaries or a buffer period in which we could have somebody have an appointment on the schedule. That was a hard conversation for her to have, but I'm so glad she trusted me to share it, and it created a much better process in our business as a result. So beautiful things can come from the feedback loop that you have between you and your team. So today I'm going to share with you 3 kinds of tools. The first is just a quick assessment that you can do very readily on each team member that is really straightforward in terms of helping you decide if people are a right fit for the organization and if they might be struggling, what conversations might you want to have with them? And if they seem to be a superstar, what else can you do for them? So that's the first one, a quick assessment. The next is a 90-day check-in that you can do with your team, both at the first 90 days for your employee and then quarterly. And then a what worked, what didn't work exercise for more annual planning. And these are kind of your formal check-ins, but like I said, don't hesitate to meet with your team more routinely, especially if there's feedback that needs to happen sooner. If you're seeing something that, could be a quick, easy fix, to help your team member, thrive better in their role, definitely make sure that you're doing that on the regular. So here's a quick, easy way for you to assess a team member. It's called the willingness ability rating. And I don't even remember where I learned this. I know where I learned it. The guy who taught it was from Goldman Sachs, and he was giving a seminar for something related to ClickFunnels, I believe. But anyway, so he talks about this willingness and ability rating score. I just don't remember his name. So what you want to do is draw a square on a piece of paper, and maybe you can envision this in your mind, creating a square. And then we're going to draw a line down the middle from top to bottom and a line through the middle from left to right. So you basically have now 4 quadrants in this box. So in the upper left-hand box, you would write able and willing. In the upper right-hand box, able, unwilling. In the upper right-hand box, it's able and willing. In the lower left-hand box, it's unable, unwilling. And in the lower right, it's unable and willing. So let me just say those one more time, just in case you're trying to track it. So in the upper left-hand corner, we have high ability, so able, but an unwillingness and attitude. That's your upper left-hand corner. In your upper right-hand corner, you have somebody who has high ability and high willingness to do the responsibilities associated with their role. In the lower left, you have somebody who's really unable to do what is being asked of them in their role, and they have an unwillingness to receive feedback or to develop themselves further. And in the lower right-hand corner, you have a person who is not really able or unable to do their role responsibilities, but they're willing to learn, and they're showing and they're inching their way in their progress. So that's your quick scale. So you can begin to look at your team members and know instantly pretty much where they're falling currently. Are they, somebody who's super able and they're willing and they're gung-ho and they're amazing? Do they have great ability, but there always seems to be an issue with them? They, don't like the way things get scheduled. They don't like the way the processes work, that kind of thing. So you can begin to rate them on each one of those. So when you've got somebody who is landing in that upper left-hand quadrant where they are able to do the work, but they're really kind of unwilling. They always want to do things, a different way or take a shortcut that doesn't necessarily lead to the best result. This is where you want to seek to understand what's happening with them. They're an employee that is worth investing in, just to see if there's something that the company can do in order to make a process easier, make projects easier, make their work environment easier. Maybe it's just a minor thing. Whereas, so like in the case of my team member, Lisa, she was able and willing, but she had an unwillingness to have to drop her schedule at the drop of a dime because a client put an appointment on the calendar, and that she had a strong boundary around that, and rightfully so. And thank goodness she did. But that was a seek to understanding moment, like what was going on for her and how was that impacting her, and could we fix it? Was it something fixable? So it's a great opportunity for you as a business owner when you have a team member who's like this. In the upper right-hand quadrant is your able and willing team member. And these are the people that you support like crazy. You give them lots of extra opportunities for growth. This is where you could promote them, especially if they're excellent at what they do and they're willing to do the work. They can become your future leaders in your business and your future trainers. That is a really like A+, super straightforward team member. Then we have your lower left quadrant, your unable and unwilling person. So this is somebody who isn't demonstrating that they're really able to carry out their job responsibilities. They're also really unwilling to hear feedback or direction or even to develop the skill further. That person is a poor fit for your organization and you are better off to let them go. Obviously, you need to look at what your state's employment laws are around letting people go. But that is a person that you should slate for poor fit and should be let go because they can really harm the morale of your whole team. The lower right-hand quadrant is the person who is unable, but they are willing. They don't have the greatest skill set, but they're willing to learn and receive feedback and try and practice and get training. So again, this is a person that you want to sit with and seek to understand how you can help support them in their abilities and how you can help take away some hurdles to their ability to do their job. It could be something really minor where they just need a little support in helping. Maybe it's somebody who, from a styling perspective, they don't really demonstrate that they're able to do something. Well, what can we do? What kind of training can we get them with? Maybe they don't like to pick paint colors. Maybe that's an opportunity to send them to something like a Maria Killam, paint training course, buy that for your team and support them there. So that is a really quick, easy way to just on your side, assess the state of each team member and how you think you want to develop them. So then let's go to the 90-day check-in concept. So the 90-day check-in concept allows you to course correct as needed versus waiting until like an annual review. I think annual reviews are kind of dead at this point. I hope they are. I think we need more regular check-ins. It enables the team to evaluate themselves and their work environment so that, you can see what visibility they have on their own skill sets and their own goal attainment and things like that. And it's a process for you to regularly revisit if the team member is still a good fit for your organization, like running that ability willingness kind of calculation and then seeing, in real time from them with their words, if they are in fact falling into that category that you think they are. And it's also a way for you to see how you can improve your company processes, procedures, tools, and technology throughout the year versus the, waiting until the end of the year. So you can do this 90-day check-in for your trial period that you have with any employee. And I highly encourage that you do. Again, you'll want to check your state laws. I am in, or your province laws or wherever you are operating your business. And where I operate my business, we're an at-will employer, which means that at any point, I as the employee or as the employer or my team member as the employee can part ways at any time for any reason, except for in cases where it's identified as any kind of discrimination or discriminatory practice. So just check your laws. But the first 90-day or trial period debrief check-in is really important because you'll want to know immediately if somebody that you've hired isn't necessarily the right fit for you. And they feel the same, or you want to make sure that it's like, if they're cruising and they're cranking and they're doing great, awesome. But you also want to find out, if your training process has worked and if the onboarding process is really, as effective as you think it is. You want to do this to see if there are any red flags. Has anything come up? So you'll want to be checking in on this early 90-day period. You'll want to be doing kind of a 360 feedback loop. You'll want to talk to any team members who are interfacing with this new employee. You'll want to talk with them, and you'll also want to obviously include your own observations. So it's really important that we do this because we want to know very early if this is somebody that we want to continue to invest in. a relationship with, or if we need to let them go. We also want to see how well they're doing and how they're progressing in their skill sets. How can we support them even better? Are they feeling like they are a good fit for us? Because it might be that they are like, I like the work, but I don't like the way you operate and I need to leave. So this is a really important thing to do in the very beginning. Then there's the ongoing quarterly 90-day check-ins. This is more about your employee evaluating themselves and their experience being a part of your organization. It's also an opportunity for them to reveal where they feel unsure and they'd like more development. It's a way to track goal progress and reset any goals as needed. I always like team members to set their own goals. And if I see anything that I think that they could expand their skill set on, I will sometimes also say, hey, I noticed that you've been doing more of this in your work. Let's go back to the paint example. I noticed you've gotten more confident with sharing some paint colors. Here's a great training I think you would really love as you're stepping more into that. And it's really great time at these quarterly check-ins again to see how your business can improve. And it's an opportunity for you to implement any changes, add new equipment, any new processes. It's really remarkable to see. We're going through a process right now where we checked in with our team and we realized that the consultation app that we use is really great and we've used it for a really long time, but there are things that we can do to improve it and to make it better, not only for our team member as they're using it as a tool for our styling evaluations, but how it can be presented to the client at the end user. So, and that all came from 90-day quarterly check-ins with our team. And the big thing is make sure that if there is something that they bring to you that you could implement, and I tend to go from the operation of, yeah, let's give that a try. Show them that you're willing to hear the feedback and go with it. The worst thing for team morale is the people who are closest to using the processes and tools provide a suggestion, and then you as a business let that ball drop and you don't show that you are willing to help make their process even better. So that is your quarterly check-in. So the kinds of questions that you'll be asking in those 90-day check-ins are, what have you been feeling, what is happening for you in the business? What skill sets have you felt like you've developed over the last, 90 days? What are the kinds of tools that you have enjoyed working with? What are the kinds of tools that you'd love to see? What are your favorite aspects of what you've been doing? Where do you see areas of opportunity and improvement within what we're doing? If there's anything you'd like to do more of, what is it? Are you comfortable with our corporate culture, right? There's so many questions you can be asking around here. How do you feel about your team? How would you rate your team experience? Are they, on a scale of 1 to 5, difficult to work with, or couldn't ask for better teammates? All of this is really important feedback during that 90-day period. Okay. And that brings us to our what worked, what didn't work exercise. And this is really a very broad annual recap and check-in. And really, you're simply asking the question, if you had to do it over again, what worked and what didn't work? We also sometimes refer to this as a Groundhog Day exercise in our business. So some of the what worked questions could be, what did you absolutely love working on this year? And what would you love to do more of that you did this year? What didn't work questions are, what did I really not like working on this year? What projects drained me? What projects would I love to never do again? Or if I had to do them again, what would I want to have it, look like? What would be different about how it went? So this is something we do at our year end because we want to take a pulse on, okay, so these people really loved doing these services, but they didn't like this. They didn't like when this obstacle came up and we still don't have a solution for it. How can we begin to plan for our next year to better address these kinds of things? And if there are things that we can't address right away, how do we communicate that to the team? Or if there are things that we can't implement at all, how do we communicate that to the team? But typically what I have found is most things we can actually help our team by resolving. They're just things we hadn't thought about, things we hadn't gotten to, things that might have gotten lost to follow up. So I would love to share this what worked, what didn't work exercise with you, the one we use inside of our team. And this is just one of the resources that we share within Rethink You and the Swipe Studio that you get access to. So I want to give you a little taste of what you can find in there and tools that you can use for your business. So I want to send that to you. So here's how we're going to do that. So another way for us to get the word out about the podcast, if you will screenshot yourself listening to the podcast or screenshot the podcast as you're listening to it, share that on your Instagram story and tag me at Rethink Home. I will make sure that you get this what worked, what didn't work worksheet as a thank you for not only listening, but a thank you for sharing it with the masses out there and the rest of our staging community. Okay, so that is your sip for the week. I hope you've gotten some great jewels and gems in there, and I hope you have a wicked good week, and I'll see you next week. All right, bye for now. Thank you so much for listening to the Staging Sips podcast. If you love what you've learned here today and you want to learn more about how to market and grow your staging business more strategically, I would love to see you join us inside of the Rethink You mentorship program. If you want more details and get on our waiting list, you can go to rethinkhomeinteriors.com/waitlist. Looking forward to seeing you in the classroom.